Hi, I'm Rich Tabor with Cornell Cooperative Extension of Chenango County, New York, and this is a film on transitioning cows from stored feed in the winter to pasture, and then from pasture back to stored feed in the fall. And it's very important to learn the details of how to do this because ruminants and cows, dairy cows, have a four-compartmented stomach, and they have a lot of bacteria which need to adapt to different feeds, and it takes a while for them to do that. So today, we're out here at the farm of Mike Gorell here in New Berlin, New York, and we're going to have Karen Hoffman, a dairy nutritionist with NRCS, ask him some questions.
So when you turn your cows out in the spring, what time of year is it usually? Or what month?
April 25th to the 3rd or 4th of May, depends on the year.
Okay. And how do you know that it's time to turn the cows out?
Well, everyone looks at this differently. We kind of look at it's usually 6 inches tall before we let it out, which I know a lot of folks let them out sooner. When it's shorter, try to adapt them better. We've been doing this for 26 years and we haven't done that yet. So that's kind of a goal we shoot for. I guess on the height of the grass.
Okay. And how do you do that? Do you just put them out days at first, just nights at first, just a few hours?
We've tried a few hours, but they go out days, and we won't maybe feed as much in the morning. Don't feed as much in the morning as we normally would. And all we would take away from the cows out of their ration in the barn would be haylage, since then it's a lot closer, at least protein-wise. So that's how we kind of regulate it that way at first.
Okay. And how do you, other than changing the haylage, do you change anything with your grain those first few days that the cows go out?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends on her load of feed. But usually we plan ahead for when we got an idea when we're gonna let them out, and we change the feed and we figure in the pasture, and then that changes our dairy grain.
So in the wintertime, what level of protein are you feeding in your grain?
Good question. 16.5 or 17 probably. And there's years when we don't have enough haylage that would be higher because we've had more corn silage. And I guess we've got as low as, well, I don't quote. I know we've been at 14 for quite a while, but I don't know. It depends on how much pasture we have. And
how long does it take you to transition the cows from the winter stored feeds onto the level of pasture that you're looking to get into the ration?
I think a week, because at that point, since I already waited till the grass was so tall, we got a lot of grass at that point. So I would think within a week we're usually where we're going to be at.
Okay. And do you lose any milk, or do you gain milk when you go to pasture, or does it pretty much stay the same?
We've never gained. We have sometimes lost, and those were the years that we were probably the highest per cow we were, and it was only for a short period of time. Most times we're very fortunate. It's been pretty tranquil or pretty even keel. Hasn't been too bad.
Good.
And the piece of them being out is better.
So when you make these changes through the transition, are you working with your feed company nutritionist, or have you been doing this long enough that you just know what to do?
No, our feed company nutritionist, he changes it. I mean, we agree or disagree, but he changes it, and we've worked with them for over 14 years, and it's worked very well. So, and he knows what we expect, what we want, and it works quite well.
Okay. So then, when you transition back into the barn in the fall, how do you know that the pastures are ready for you to start putting the cows back onto the stored feed?
Well, as the days get shorter and you go out there to get them every morning or every night, every morning for us, there's not as much grass, and then they'll eat their whatever we're giving them faster. I guess that's how as we keep bumping up the haylage or we add corn silage, yeah, the ultimate thing is after a while, the grass quits growing, we run out of daylight.
Right. And how late into the fall have you been able to graze? What was your latest date? And I guess maybe on the flip side, what was the earliest you ever put them back in the barn?
2 years ago, I remember taking one bag of grain out to the dry cows. The milk cows, I don't know if they were grazing at that point. I somehow doubt it, but we had a lot of dry cows, and we just kept taking them their grain, their 3 pounds of grain, and the cows. See, we have limited pastures, and we can't stockpile anything. We don't have that many acres per cow. We only have basically half an acre per milk cow. So I'm guessing it's toward the end of the 20th or 30th of October. I mean, I know folks do a lot longer, but we have too many cows for the acres we have.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So how long does it take you to get them transitioned back into the stored feeds and into the barn? Does it take you a week, 2 weeks?
I guess a week, but there's years. I mean, there's times when we can actually, we've done it over a month when I've given them less grass each night to make it last longer, and then we've done it over maybe a 4-week period. But that was just for us to be able to let them out and them to have something to eat.
Do you have any other advice for people who are just getting started with grazing on, making sure that you're successful both in the spring and in the fall?
Yeah, don't believe everything you're told. Because, in '86 when I started grazing, I listened to these people. I thought, wow, but that wasn't the whole story. Anyway, advice. No, grazing's well worth it, but not just transitioning. I mean, every paddock's got water. I mean, we've had friends that tried and failed. They said, well, we put our cows out there, and he said they just stood there, and they weren't used to grazing. I understand that, but then they said, well, and they were way off in milk, and I didn't understand that. I mean, grass is great feed. Well, then there was no water. You get back what you put in it. I mean, it's called management intensive grazing, and I used to laugh at that, but it does take a lot of management.